friends, welcome back to my channel. I am just hands again. Second video in a row, just hands. This is actually gonna be my palette declutter. I'm gonna do my single pressed shadows today as well. I really wanna be ruthless because I have a lot of palettes. So yeah, we're gonna go through each palette, see if I have any like dupes in my single shadows and things like that. I really wanna get rid of as many palettes as possible today because I just don't really use my collection as much as I should. And yeah, so let's just get into it. Okay, first things first, these are my ColourPop single shadows and palettes. This is my ColourPop eyeshadow collection basically. And yeah, I think I have a lot of duplicates and I just want to condense all of these because most of these are pretty old in my collection. And I use a lot of other formulas now. ColourPop used to be like my main staple formula and I just don't really reach for them as much anymore. So I want to downsize as much as possible. So let's just look at everything we have. So I have the My Little Pony palette and I have actually rearranged a lot of my palettes, which I've talked about before in my last palette declutter collection video. So this is the My Little Pony palette. This is the Frozen 2 Elsa palette. This is the Hello Hollywood palette. This is my most recent ColourPop palette. These are my singles from ColourPop. This is just a Z palette in general, but I do have some ColourPop in here. These four are ColourPop. Those are Natasha Denona. That's the Smashbox face palette, as we know. These are more ColourPop single shadows. This is actually what remains of my Too Cute palette. And then these are just 4 extra single shadows. This is my Hocus Pocus Witching Hour palette, which I do have pan in one of the shades, yay. This is my I Love Sarai ColourPop Quad. The original shades are not in here. I think these two actually might be original, but these two definitely are not original. And then this is my ColourPop Rendevu palette. This is one of the shades that's in there. But other than that, yeah, these are my palettes. So I think first things first, I have like rarely ever used this palette as a whole, this Frozen 2 palette, but I do reach for a few of the shades. So I think I'm gonna try to dupe out the shades that I think I have dupes for obviously, and then depot the other shades and put them in like a little Z palette. So the first shade that I definitely know that I have a dupe to is the shade Cuddle Close. And I also rearranged this palette, so these might not be the accurate shade names, but in general, this is what the palette looks like for me at least. And I believe that that is gonna be duped out in my Natasha Denona Pastels palette. So give me one sec to find that. Okay, yeah, so this is the shade Illusion from my ColourPop Pastels palette. So let me just swatch this. Okay, it's good. It's like an iridescent pinky shade. And then the shade Cuddle Close, I'll swatch next to it. Yeah, I mean, Cuddle Close is like a little bit lighter, but I also have the shade Tart from the Deuce palette by Juvia's Place. Okay, see, yeah, so it's a little more purple, but in general, those have almost identical finishes, and I'm gonna be reaching for those two over this one, so I definitely think I can get rid of that. And then I have the shade Fire, which looks to be like a mid-tone mauve-y taupe color. I have so many of those. I actually have 2 of those in here. I have this one over here, what's the name of this one? This one is Chic Happens, which I believe is from the I Love Sarai collection. And then this one is called Made to Last. I don't really use these shades very often. So I think actually what I'm gonna do is I have this quad by Makeup Geek. It's the So Grateful quad. So this shade right here looks to be almost identical. This is a little more warm, but in general, they look to be almost identical. And they also look to be almost identical to, wow, look at that. To Fire. I think Made to Last is a little bit closer to Fire, but either way, all of these are gonna look almost identical on the Lids, and in general, they're all pretty similar to my Bon Fresco shade from my Modern Renaissance palette. So I'm actually gonna be getting rid of everything except for the one in this Makeup Geek quad because I really like the formula of that one. And I don't wanna get rid of the quad. So gonna be getting rid of all of those. I think one of the only shades I am gonna keep is this one called Northern Lights. It's got a really pretty like purple to green reflect going on. And then also this shade Water, which is super pretty. It swatches horribly, but it is just the most pretty like royal blue purple kind of shade. I'm also gonna be keeping Flurry, this pressed glitter. I know you're not supposed to use pressed glitter on the eyes. Do your own research, I don't really mind. And then this silver shade is also absolutely stunning, like the most metallic silver. I don't really wear silver very often, but I just wanna keep it just to have a cool silver. Other than that in the palette, I definitely know that I have some warm tone browns. As if you've seen my pan those eyeshadows, I'm trying to pan like 3 warm browns right now. And then this, same thing. This is really similar to the Pure shade in the Pure Beer Selfie palette. So I'm gonna be getting rid of that. This Warm Berry I might keep for now, but in general, let me just depot all the shades to show you kind of what I'm working with. All right, let me push all the other things out of the way and leave just what I'm working on right now. Okay, so here's what I'm working with, all of them completely depotted. So I'm gonna be getting rid of this one because I have a dupe here, Natasha Denona one, so put it over here. I'm gonna be getting rid of this one as well as these two because I have a dupe right here. So I'm going to be getting rid of those. It's also just shades I don't usually use very often. I'm gonna be keeping this one. I'm gonna be decluttering this one. I just have so many mid-tone warm browns. If there's anything that I've learned from doing my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, it's that literally it takes forever to get through eyeshadows. And also I have so many duplicates and they basically look identical in the eyes. So it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna keep this glitter. I'm gonna keep this blue shade because I don't really have anything else like it. I'm gonna keep this silver because I don't really have anything else like it. I'm gonna be getting rid of this shade because it's really similar to all of the like mid-tone light peachy colors I have. Actually, I'll even show you. I have this shade Bellini from the Natasha Denona Pastels palette that is basically identical. So I'm gonna be getting rid of that one. And then this berry, I'm kind of, I don't know, I don't really have any shades that are like berry like that, but I feel like on the eyes, they're gonna be so similar to like the Venetian Red, Love Letter, those kind of shades from my Modern Renaissance. And I feel like I am taking forever to get through those. So it looks close enough. It's a little bit darker, but I don't know. I'll keep it for now. And then if it comes to it later, I'll just declutter it. Because I do like that it is a little bit deeper. Okay, so far I got rid of 4 from that palette and kept 5. And we're gonna be decluttering the packaging as a whole as well because I don't need it. Though it is like pretty packaging, I'm not gonna reach for it. And we're keeping this quad as well, my little Makeup Geek quad. It is so cute and I love it for like purpley looks. I am, however, gonna take out this empty pan because I do not need it. All right, let's go into this palette next because it's just tiny. I am gonna keep all the shades in this palette. I do really like all the shades in this palette and I do think that they're really cohesive. So I'm just gonna be keeping this palette as is. I love traveling with this one. Yeah. All right, next up, my Little Pony palette. This is like the second ColourPop palette I ever got and I really, really like it. I do think though that I could declutter some of these shades and put these shades in there because I have these mini ones. So let me just take the shades out and show you what I'm working with here. Okay, so here's what we're working with. Again, these are not in the proper order from what the original palette layout is. I can put a picture of that here. The original palette layout was. I actually think this one might be from the Elsa 2 palette as well. So kind of just going all over the place here. So I'm not gonna try to even say shade names. I'm just gonna point at them. This one is actually really pretty. It's like a really light kind of butter yellow color. I like that. I'm going to be keeping that. This one, I've really liked it over the years, but I do think that I just have it again, like in other places. It's just a peach, and I feel like I have plenty and plenty of peaches. Even, again, I'm gonna bring it up like a million times, but The shade Bellini right here, I feel like that's a dupe and I love that shade. So gonna get rid of that one. This one is like a bright orange. I don't really wear orange colors again. So that's a maybe. I don't know about that one. This one, it looks super pink, but if I remember correctly, it comes across. Oh no, it is super pink. Okay, so that's like more just like a pink metallic. I do like that one. I think I'll keep that one as well. Getting into the purples now. I kind of laid it out by like oranges, purples, teals. This is a super light purple shade. I don't really have anything else like it. I don't really wear it that often, but I will keep it. This is a mid-tone shimmery purple. I remember really liking it, so I'll keep it for now. And then if I have other dupes for purples, because I do have a lot of purples in my collection in general, this is basically Venetian red. Just a little bit dustier, and I don't really go for that. If I'm gonna go for a berry, it's gonna be a little bit more warm tone than this, so I'm gonna be getting rid of this one. And then this, I believe, like I said, was from the Elsa 2. It is like a dark berry with some blue shimmer in it. Don't really need that kind of shade. So yeah, gonna be decluttering that as well. Now onto the blues. The blues are my favorite part of this palette, not gonna lie. These two blues are like two of my favorite blues ever. This one specifically, it's super, super shimmery. I'm just gonna swatch everything, why not? So you can see it's like super metallic, love that one. And then this one is less iridescent, but still just as metallic. Really like that one as well. So I'll be keeping both of those. This is like a really dark teal shade. Doesn't swatch super well, but it is nice and metallic. I do think that I have similar shades, so I'm gonna put it up in the maybes. And then this, I believe, is like a really dark purple. Yeah, and I already have, it's like almost black. I already have shades similar to that, so I'm gonna get rid of that as well. So yeah, I'm keeping 6 from that palette, getting rid of 4, and 2 are maybes. I do wanna keep this packaging, so I think I am gonna put the shades that I'm keeping from both of these palettes in here, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I try to keep it as close to the original layout as possible. Original layout meaning the layout I had, and I have one little spot open. So I'm gonna move these over to the side, keep the maybes in there, and move on to the next palette. Okay, I think next I'll go into Rendevu because it's the other palette that I have that is kind of shaped similarly. So we'll do the same thing. I'll take all these shades out and we'll go through them. Okay, so these are all the ones I took out of the palette. I do have one last one from this palette that I will put in there. It's this in the corner. It goes right there. Perfect. Okay, so if I remember correctly, I got this palette just like in line at Sephora, and it's because I was looking at getting the pumpkin spice palette from Too Faced, and this matched like a shade in there perfectly. I ended up using other shades way more, so let's just go through, we'll swatch them again. This is like, this palette is also like not in the order that it was originally. I'll put a picture up here, but yeah. Okay, this is like a really shimmery kind of pearl champagne color. Oh, okay, this one is like super gold, holy crap. This one is just like a bone shade, so I'm not gonna swatch that. This is like a mid-tone pink. This one, okay. I don't think there's anything super special in this, to be quite honest, except for these two. This is like a really nice dark brown. I almost like this little corner the best. I don't know if I want to keep any of these shimmers except for these two down here. This is like the best teal kind of shade. I mean, I say kind of, it is teal. And then this one is just super fun in the winter. It's like this iridescent gold kind of, I don't know, it's just super pretty. So I think none of them are super special except for those ones. I kind of divided it like shimmers and then mattes, if you can see from that. So I think first things first, this one's gonna be a maybe. I do think it's really pretty. This one's gonna be a no. I have enough gold and I don't really wear gold eyeshadow that much. This one's gonna be a no. Oh my God, I have stuff all over my fingers, sorry. This one, this is like why I got the palette. It is like a red. Is that not similar to the shade from my Pure Beer Selfie palette? Let me just Just swatch that out really quick. Okay, it's the shade Fabulous that I'm trying to finish up. Also, when I say that these pans are big, look at how much bigger it is than all of the others. Okay, so it's like a tiny bit more orange and coppery, but I also have Alluring, which is like a copper. So yeah, I don't really think that I need that shade. I don't imagine I'm gonna be reaching for it very often, considering that I use Fabulous so little as is. So I'm gonna get rid of that one as well. These two I'm definitely gonna keep. Like I said, they're very special to me and in general. And then I have these mattes. So I have the Natasha Denona Love palette, and I think any pink is gonna be able to be duped by that palette. Like, these look fairly similar. This is just a little less, I don't know, pigmented, I guess. Let me see. Okay, it's a little less, but okay. In my mind, it's just a little less pink, it's a little more muted. I do think it's pretty. I don't know if I need it specifically, but it's pretty. I definitely know that I don't need this like bone kind of shade. I have that shade a million times over in all of my palettes. Everything has a neutral. So I'm gonna be getting rid of that one. This is a maybe. I do like this little quad. I don't think I need this like dark, almost black shade. Like it's basically black. I don't wear black eyeshadow very often, and I have liners and stuff for that, so I can get rid of that. These are very pretty. I really like the undertone of this shade, so I think I'm gonna be keeping this one. This looks like a normal taupey brown, so I'm gonna be decluttering that one. And this looks really similar to like red ochre, so I'm gonna be decluttering that one. I think I am gonna keep this one, however, and those just look really pretty together. So I decluttered 7, I kept 3 and 2 maybes. So I'll just keep putting them. I don't really think that I want to keep this packaging either if I don't need to. I will, I mean, obviously for right now, I will keep it with me just in case. I only have the one more spot left for this, and I want to keep these two together, so maybe I'll put this teal in there. I'll probably end up reorganizing these at some point, but yeah. And then these two I'm also keeping, and I'll put these away. All right, next palette up, this is gonna be my ColourPop Witching Hour palette. These unfortunately have square pans, so can't really do anything about that. I do think that I have duplicates, obviously, of so many of these. Actually, I don't know, these look fairly similar to me. And this looks probably similar to Cypress Umber as well. So yeah, I'm gonna be decluttering this because I'm gonna be keeping this palette, obviously. I mean, I could obviously depot all of these shades as well, but I'd rather not. And I really like this palette and this packaging, so I think I wanna keep this as intact as possible. I still really like this one. This one is really similar to Bubble Bubble, so I'm gonna be decluttering this. See, this is so helpful for all my maybes. I have so many more dupes than I thought I had originally. And this is really similar to Circle of Salt. So look at that. I can get rid of these ones as well. I think I like those still. Like, I haven't found any dupes for that. I'm definitely keeping this one, but I'm gonna keep all the things in this palette. Not that I don't think that this can be duped out many times over. I think I just hold sentimental value to this palette, and I love Hocus Pocus. So for right now, this stays intact. And if I had other squares, if I had other square palettes, I think I would probably, like, you know, switch out some shades, but I don't. So you're lucky. You're lucky you're square and you can stay like this. Okay, next up, I have my I Love Sarai ColourPop palette. These shades I really don't reach for very often, except for this one, but I have now, let me just move these for a second. I have some palettes that have dupes in them. For instance, that used to be my Ride or Die. I think that's Deja Vu. And now I have this shade from my Pastels palette, so I can get rid of that one. Also, it's just getting like hard pan. And yeah, I have a ton of shades like that. That's one of my favorite eyeshadow shades to wear. I guess I could probably just take all these out. Okay, here are those four. Again, getting rid of Deja Vu because I have a dupe of it. So this one is Lit. This one is Razzie or Razy. And this one is Up and Atom. Up and Atom is actually a really pretty coppery shade, and it has kind of a different, more like golden undertone. It's almost like a brown. So I think I'm gonna put that in the maybes. This one is like a really dark purple, almost like berry shade. And I do think it's actually really pretty. So I think I'm gonna be keeping this one. And I guess it'll go in the maybes because I'm not so certain yet. And then this one, it is like a very pretty berry purple kind of cranberry shade. So this one also will go in the maybes for now. All right, so out of that, I have 3 maybes and 1 that I'm getting rid of. I will most likely be keeping the packaging for that as well because it's really nice to travel with. But for right now, it's just gonna stay empty until I go through my other shades. We'll do this one next. This is a Z palette that has some shades in it and then also has the remainder, like I said, of the first ColourPop palette in it. I do want to keep this yellow. I don't really have many yellows. This gold is like a butter kind of gold instead of like a dirty gold. That's a maybe. This orange, if I really want like a bright orange kind of Cheeto look, this is what I reach for. So I'm going to be keeping that one. This one is really similar to like, this one has a really nice undertone. It's like a mid-tone orange, and it does have it's like different than like Realgar. So I think I'm gonna be keeping that one. This one, however, this is just like red ochre. This one, however, this is just like red ochre and Realgar. So I'm gonna be getting rid of this one. And then these ones, this obviously has an insane amount of hard pan, but it is a really nice coral electric color. So I'm gonna be keeping it. This one is a really nice champagne kind of color, and it's, like I said, good. And so I'm going to be keeping that for now. Not that I don't have shades like that, but it's just really nice to travel with it. This is basically the shimmery version of that, and I like to use them together. So I'm going to be keeping that. And then this is another metallic blue. Though I have metallic blues, like I said, in my Little Pony palette, this one is like, again, that one's like more teal. I know I don't really need them, but I really like the shade separate from these two, and I do use it, so I'm gonna be keeping that as well. So that's all of these. Again, for right now, I'm just gonna keep this palette to the side. And I got rid of one from that palette as well. And then this has all of my rest of my ColourPop. I think there might be one in here actually. Ah, there's 2 in here. Let me just take those out real quick. Oh yeah, and I forgot about this one. This one I'm obviously keeping. I have a ton of pan in it, and I really like the orangey tone to it. Okay, so these are all the actual singles. I can tell you what these ones are called, the larger ones. This is Centerfold. This is Heavy Glam. This one is Beam Me Up. And then I'm gonna be keeping this one. This is Glass Bowl. This is like the iridescent kind of duochrome, the first duochrome from ColourPop. And then this one is Ready Your Yacht. This is like a super pretty light orangey reflect. Me keeping that as well. Now we have the rest of mine. So this is more like purples, like I said, and greens. I might be keeping a lot of these only because I just really like them. So this is Play by Play. This is like it looks just like a gold, but it actually has like a green duochrome to it. Super pretty. I'm keeping that. This one is 20 something. Yeah. This is like the most shimmery gold in the world. I do really like this. So I think if I'm keeping that, see, that's more of like an antique gold versus this, which is like a yellowy gold. Yeah, I don't know. This one is High Strung. It's like, I don't know, a mauve-y kind of copper. That's pretty. That's a maybe. This one is Baseline. This is super pretty, like purple undertones to it. It's like also kind of a duochrome. And yeah, I really like that one. I'll be keeping that one. This one, it's cracking, so sad. This is Now in Zen. It's like a white with a green gold duochrome to it. Super, super pretty. This one is Up and Up. It's like an olive green. Gonna be keeping that one. This one is Tea Garden. This is also a duochrome, like an orange and gold duochrome. Super, super pretty. I love using that on people that have brown eyes as well. And then Team Captain, which is just another olivey green. I don't really have any olive greens besides those three, so I will be keeping those. Now it gets into the purples. I have so many purples, so many. I love purple though. All right, so these two, I believe, are Prowlin and then Howlin, I think, yeah. Prowlin and Howlin, yeah. Really, really pretty. I do have some other light purples, but nothing quite like that. So I'm gonna be keeping that. I'm gonna be keeping those two. I promise I will get rid of some from this palette, just none of those yet. This one is Earthshine, and let me just swatch it really quick. I actually have pan in it, which is funny. So it's got like a really pretty blue reflect to it. I do think it's really similar to Duet from the Natasha Denona. Okay, look at that one and look at how much more shimmery and sparkly it is with like this same kind of undertone. Wow. Okay. That one has such more of a blue reflect than a pink reflect though. I don't need it. I have so many shades, like I said, trying to get rid of some. This one is Snake Eyes. This is also like a really shimmery mauve kind of taupey shade. I think if I'm keeping, I have a lot of single shadows like this. I don't know, this goes in the maybe. This one is Come and Get It. It is like a pink and orange duochrome. I don't need this one. I can get rid of it. This one is Dragonfly, which I believe, yeah, it's just, it actually looks exactly like Strong. It does have a little bit of like a silvery reflect. You can get rid of that one. This one, so pretty. Fault Line, it's like, again, that purpley blue kind of, this is so pretty, and I have a liner that matches it, and I'm wearing it on my eyes today actually, so I'll be keeping that one. And then this one is 143. This has a lot of hard pan if I remember correctly, and it is almost identical to Bora from the Natasha Denona Pastels palette. It's, I guess, a little bit pinkier, but I like Bora a lot better, so I'm gonna be getting rid of that. So I got rid of 4 of those, which is awesome. Much more than I thought I was going to get rid of, honestly, because I love my ColourPop single shadows. So let me kind of put the large ColourPop single shadows back in this palette. Okay, so here's all the ones I have. And I also have, so I have 3 spots left, and I also have 4 here. Kind of debating whether or not I should have some empty spaces or what I should kind of do with that. I think I will just kind of keep some of these. I know that I don't specifically need them, but that's okay. But I do think that they'll go well in here. I think I definitely, I'm gonna keep that one. And you know what? I'll leave that spot open. And then those 4 will go in here because I actually think that they go really well together. And I think these 2 were in here before. That's funny. There you go. So I have those 4, keeping that. And then I just have one little spot left on there. I think with that being said, I'm gonna get rid of my Rendevu palette as well then. I don't really think I need the packaging because I have this empty Z palette that I can put these into. I think I'm just gonna keep these for now as well. I'm pretty happy with how much I've gotten rid of so far, so yeah. And I'll end up reorganizing these later as well, but those are the ones I'm keeping. Then let's put these shades back in my palette. This one is Mint Frost. This one is Zest. This one is Airy. And this one is Tool. And then this guy over here is actually from the Natasha Known Love palette, and it's Giving. It's Giving. For easy peasy then, this just has some of my highlighters in it. Doesn't even count as an eyeshadow palette, so I guess I technically got rid of another palette. Hey, look at me go. Easy. Well, I guess I'll just do this now then. I'm gonna be keeping my two Natasha Denona palettes. I love the pastel palette, I use it all the time. And then the Love palette, I use a little bit more, obviously Valentine's Day around then, but I really like it as well. So yeah. Other easy palettes to keep, my Pure Beer Selfie palette, because I'm panning it. My Modern Renaissance, because I'm panning it. And my Maybelline Lemonade Grace palette, because I'm panning it. So I'm gonna be keeping those as well. Okay, this palette should have the last of my single shadows in it. These, I call my Island of Misfit Toys. There's some from like old Urban Decay shadows. There's some old Lancome shadows. There's this from like an Ulta thing. And then these are from, I don't even remember what palette they're from. But basically, I'm gonna be getting rid of most of these because I don't need them. I don't use them. Specifically, these Urban Decay shades, I don't know why I've kept them. I don't remember the last time I used them. Yeah, they can go. I have dupes of all of them basically in my collection as well. And then also, I don't know why I kept this. I don't need it. And then these, I don't wear gray eyeshadow really. I don't remember when I would have. This is the only one that I might keep. It's like taupey. I feel like I have enough taupe shadows that I reach for over this, so getting rid of that one as well. These I honestly just keep for sentimental reasons. Sentimental meaning that they were my mom's. I depotted them like a million years ago, and I don't really use them in the eyes. I just like them. So I'm gonna put these in this little guy because they can fit in here now. Yay. Okay, so now I have a completely empty palette. So that means I got rid of 9 and I'm keeping 3. Okay, you probably recognize this. This is my Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. I've been keeping it for like, again, sentimental reasons. I don't ever reach for it. And I've reached for it even less now. And I don't think I'm gonna be using up any of the shades. And honestly, it's really, really old, but I just like feel like I can't get myself to get rid of it. So I guess I'm gonna keep it. I really, really don't need to, but I just can't seem to get rid of it. I guess it'll just be like a memory for me. Next up, I have this Revolution palette. It was a gift from my friend. It's the Forever Dynamic Everlasting eyeshadow palette. I actually really like the tones in here. This like green, I use this as a liner all the time. I don't really use these for, but these four, so pretty. This one, super pretty. So I'm gonna be keeping that. Also, it's just very small, and I like smaller palettes, if you couldn't tell. Then I have my Tartelette Flirt palette. I keep this for travel, but I don't really wear any of these tones anymore. Like this used to be the everyday shades I would use, like these orangey tones. And so I think I'm actually gonna get rid of it. I haven't reached for it at all in the summer. And this is like when I said I was going to be reaching for it. Like I was like, oh, I'll keep it for the summer for travel. I haven't done that. In the summer, I wear like really bright shades now. So I'm gonna be decluttering this one. I have this little Lancome palette, and this actually I do use. It's very similar, but it's more of like a neutral kind of fall shade, and I do actually travel with this, so I'll be keeping this one. I guess I'll just go through all my mini palettes right now. This is the e.l.f. Mint Melt Bite Size palette. I like this one. I really like these shimmers, so I will be keeping this. And I'm obviously going to keep this Makeup Geek quad that only has 3 shades in it, trio I guess now. This is a really, really old Maybelline Eye Studio palette, and I kept it because I really liked this and this shade, and I used to use them all the time. They're super soft, and this used to be like shades I used every single day. This also, but I kept a shade really similar to this in my singles. So I'm gonna be finally decluttering this. It's like a million years old, and I'm finally getting rid of it. Another palette that I'm gonna get rid of is this Maybelline Soda Pop palette. I have all of these shades in my collection somewhere else. I think it's pretty, like I don't think it's bad. I just know that I have all of those shades. Most of those shades are actually covered in my single shadows. So I don't need it. I love the Maybelline Lemonade Grace. This isn't as good, and I don't really wear these tones very often. Again, it's good, I just don't need it. So I'll be getting rid of it as well. This is another mini that I actually really like. This is the ABH Norvina collection. This is the Super Brights. I love these kind of tones. Again, I think that almost can dupe the Soda Pop palette, like half of the shades in there. But I really like traveling with this. It's super small. I love the teal in here. I love the bright oranges and yellows and stuff. This yellow is not as like warm toned as the other yellow that I kept. But I really like that these are kind of like bright pastels. So we'll be keeping this. Okay, next I have my Too Faced Natural Eyes palette. This one, super old. It's still in the metal packaging. Yeah, I'm gonna be keeping this. I love it. I just think it's so pretty. And I don't know. I just really like the Too Faced palettes like this. I'll show you another one that I'll be keeping. This is the Too Faced Totally Cute palette. This actually is sentimental to me. And I did use it recently on a trip. So I'm still using it. I still like it. And yeah. Okay, this is a Revolution palette. This is the Lion King palette. I got this and I used it a lot last year, but I think I just have a lot of these shades over and over again in my palette, in my collection. I think I kept it for travel, but I don't really think I need it. I think I have enough of these shades, like I said, over and over and over again in my collection, and I like the formulas of everything else better. It's just okay, so I'm gonna be getting rid of it. Next up, I have the Deuce by Juvia's Place. They don't sell this palette anymore, but I really love this palette. I love the pinks in here. I love this like cool tone brown. This is a really pretty wearable silver, and this shade is super gorgeous as well. I love wearing this palette. I should probably use it more than I do, but I'll be keeping it. My other Juvia's Place palette is my Garden of Juvia's Place palette, and I really love this one. I use it all the time. The purples in here are bar none. These shimmers in here are like all duochromes and gorgeous and beautiful. And this like gold color, they're so pretty. So yeah, definitely keeping this palette. Though I do think this is similar to the Natasha Denona Pastels palette. I just love the duochromes in here, so yeah. Okay, next up is one of my oldest palettes. This is my Lime Crime Venus 2 palette. I need to get rid of this. Every single year I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't use it. And every year I'm like, but this green is so pretty. Which it is. It's really pretty, but I don't use it. And I'm like, this green is so pretty. And it is, but I don't use it. I'm like, and this blue. And it is, but I don't use it. And now I realize that I have dupes of literally every single shade in this palette. And this is just so old and it's super bulky. And I only really use those 3 anyway. So I'm going to be getting rid of this. Filter specifically, I was like, I have to keep Filter. I love it so much. But then I got this Hello Hollywood palette, and it's like basically the same shade. This one's a little bit more purple, but on the lid, again, it's like identical. And I also have this shade from the Natasha Denona palette, Airy, and then also this one, Bubble, which again, they're like identical. So if I need this shade, I have it covered. I'm good. I am so good. So I will be finally decluttering this palette. Next up is my Beauty Bay Pastels palette. I do use this, not as much as I used to now that I have the Natasha Denona Pastels palette. Geez, that palette is like just knocking out so many palettes in my collection. I do think I'm gonna keep this for now. I do really like the pastels in here, so yeah. Next up, I have 2 palettes from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. This is the Conspiracy palette. And I got these both as gifts. Well, I guess I can show you the other one. This is the Mini Controversy palette. I got these both as gifts from my friend Ewan. I do like this palette. I do think that it's pretty, and I don't really love Jeffree Star, but I do think that these palettes are good quality. Specifically, I love the pastel shades in here. This one, however, I do think that I kind of have this duped with, oh my god, we're so surprised here, the Natasha Denona palette. Yeah, those are like identical. That light blue is super, super pretty. This light blue is super pretty, but I think that that's basically identical to this shade. I don't really use, like that pink is almost identical. This green, I feel like I have. This white is actually very pretty. I don't know. I don't know if I need them. And this packaging is super bulky. I feel like I have a lot of these shades, obviously. Yeah, and they don't come out, so it's not like I could just keep some of them. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. It's just so big and I don't use it enough to make it worth having. Though this, like I said, this shade is so pretty. It's like a shimmery white. I just don't see myself using it. This shade is really pretty, but I have other shades like it and duochromatic shades like it. And then this shade is really pretty, but again, I have that shade from my Natasha Denona palette now. So though I would love to say that I use this one because I wear this color a lot, it doesn't show up kind of like how it's supposed to. It just shows up as kind of like yellow. That pink is super pretty, but I don't need to keep the entire palette for a pink, especially that pink stains a lot. And then I have kind of all the other shades. I have a red, I have an orange, I have like black and these shades as well. So yeah, I am going to be getting rid of this palette, though I loved it and I'm very glad for the gift. So thank you, Ewan, for that. But I just don't need it anymore. This one, however, I think I am going to keep, though I have this shade now, and I think this one's kind of similar. I do like these blues also, and I don't know. I just don't think I need to get rid of this one. It's not as bulky. I can travel with this one, which is really nice, especially in the winter, because it has a lot of good wintry shades. So I think I'm going to still keep the Mini Controversy palette for now. I have this Urban Decay Light Beam palette, and yeah, I got this to travel with it. I don't really think I need it. I have kind of all of these shades, and I don't travel with it, really. So yeah, gonna get rid of this one. Next up, I have my Too Faced Pretty Rich palette. I really like this one actually, and these shades down here specifically, I really love. So I think I'm just gonna keep this one. I do reach for it kind of quite a bit, so yeah. And I do think that this was kind of a dupe for my Rendevu palette, and I got rid of that one, so there we go. Really getting closer. This is by Melt Cosmetics. This is the Beetlejuice Recently Deceased palette. I love this palette solely because I just love Beetlejuice, so I will be keeping it. I use these shades all the time. The purple's not so much, but these green shades, definitely. And I wouldn't get rid of it anyway because I just like it. Then I have this Mayron face palette. I haven't used this yet, but if I ever want to like paint anything, body paint, anything like that, I'm just gonna keep it for now. And then finally, last palette, this is the BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop Pistachio palette, and I love this palette. The greens in here are absolutely gorgeous. The undertones are like nothing I have anywhere else. Love it so much, and I reach for it all the time. So yeah, we'll be keeping that as well. Okay, so that being said, I got rid of 17 single eyeshadows, single pressed eyeshadows. I got rid of 9 palettes total, which is really, really good for me. And I'm keeping 29, which is still a good number, but I got under 30, which I'm really proud of because that was my goal, to get under 30. So I'm really, really happy with that. And I also got rid of, like I said, a lot of single shadows. So I have a completely empty palette now. I guess that shouldn't even count. I have 28 eyeshadow palettes, and that includes my single shadows, so not actual eyeshadow palettes. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. It feels really nice to have my palettes kind of decluttered and actually decluttered. This is a lot better of a declutter than my last video, but if you want to see my last video and see my thoughts on those and what I decluttered last time, I will tag it up here. But with that, I hope you are enjoying this little series and enjoying my hands-only videos. I hope you're having a great day, week, month, year, wherever you are, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, guys.